Every morning, I wake up without pain, without taking medications, and with a peaceful heart. I am 94 years old and still live alone. I cook my own food, tend to my garden, and sweep my porch with the same calm as someone who has discovered that life can indeed be light, even after 90. Many people ask me, "What's your secret?" The truth is, there's no miracle, just 5 simple habits I adopted in my mornings many years ago, and never stopped doing. If you wake up feeling stiff, tired, or with a foggy mind, you may have heard that this is normal for your age. But I'm here to tell you, that's not true. Today, I'm going to share exactly the 5 morning habits that keep me healthy, active, and more lucid than many people half my age. All without medications, expensive methods, or complications. If you give me a few minutes of your time today, I promise to give you something even more valuable: hope, strength, and a real plan you can start tomorrow. If you want to improve your health, start the day with more energy, and create simple habits that really work, go ahead and give this video a like. Take the opportunity to subscribe to the channel. I'll still share a lot of practical things that can transform your routine, even if you're starting from scratch. And tell me in the comments, where are you watching from and how old are you? I want to know who's here with me on this journey for a lighter, healthier life. For a long time, I thought I wouldn't make it past 70. My parents died young. My father had a massive heart attack at 62. My mother battled chronic illnesses and passed before 60. My siblings also left us young, one at 58, another shortly after 60. It was as if an early fate was set for all of us. So, when I reached my 70s, I confess, I was expecting the worst. I had pains, felt tired all the time, and started to believe that this was indeed the natural part of aging. But something inside me resisted. I looked in the mirror and thought, is this really all there is? Can't I live longer and better? That's when I began searching for answers. I didn't want to depend on medications anymore. I didn't want to live on doctor visits and grim diagnoses, and above all, I didn't want my life to end the same way as my siblings, in silence, too soon, and full of regrets. I started studying, observing, and testing small changes. That's when, almost by chance, I found a simple routine. It started with some changes in my mornings. Nothing radical, no magic formula, just small choices I began to repeat every day. And something incredible happened. Within a few months, the pains lessened. My mind became clearer, and that fatigue that had followed me for years vanished. For the first time, I started to feel that my body and mind were cooperating with me again. That was over 20 years ago. Today, at 94, I continue to live alone. I cook my food, take care of the house, walk steadily, and have joy in living. The most curious part? I don't take any medication, and when I go to the doctor, the surprise is always the same. Your tests look like those of someone half your age. But what changed wasn't just my body. It was my mindset. And it all started with one decision: to care for my mornings as if I were caring for my life. These habits don't cost money. You don't need a gym, expensive supplements, or fancy technologies. What you need is a commitment to yourself. And if you're listening to me now and think it's too late to change, I tell you, I started at 74. It doesn't matter how old you are. What matters is what you decide to do with the time you have ahead. And that's exactly what I want to share with you today. The 5 morning habits that completely changed my life and that anyone can adopt starting tomorrow. If you feel pain upon waking, live tired, have a foggy mind, or simply want to rediscover the joy of living well, then this video was made for you. The first habit that completely transformed my health was simple: drinking a large glass of water as soon as I wake up, before anything else. It seems like something small, but this single practice was responsible for improving my mental clarity, reducing joint pain, and eliminating the dizziness that plagued me for years. Today, it's the first thing I do when I open my eyes. Before this, my mornings were marked by body stiffness, swollen hands, a heavy feeling in my legs, and a mental fog that took hours to clear. I thought this was normal aging. And that's exactly what my doctors told me for a long time. But at 75, when the symptoms started to intensify, I decided not to accept that explanation as final. I started researching, listening to my body, and testing small changes. And that's when I realized I was starting every day dehydrated. During the night while we sleep, we lose about 1 liter of water just through breathing and our skin. This means we wake up with our body in a deficit, and most people make it worse by drinking coffee first thing in the morning, which, being a diuretic, increases fluid loss even more. The result? A sluggish mind, body aches, dizziness upon getting out of bed, morning fatigue, and even worse, memory. When I understood this, I swapped coffee as my first act of the day for a generous glass of water, and in a short time, I started noticing real changes. My dizziness disappeared. The swelling in my hands and feet reduced. My thoughts became clearer, and I started feeling more energized in the early hours of the day, something I hadn't felt in years. Even my sleep improved. And the most impressive part, I didn't change anything else in my diet or physical activity at that time. It was just the water. 1 single glass, every day, religiously. The difference was so striking that this practice became non-negotiable for me. Science confirms all this. Research from Johns Hopkins Medicine shows that even mild dehydration in people over 65 can reduce cognitive function by more than 25%. In addition to increasing inflammatory processes in the body, worsening joint pain, and accelerating cellular aging. Other studies point out that proper hydration first thing in the morning improves blood pressure regulation, joint lubrication, and digestive function, critical factors for health throughout life. Today, this habit has been with me for over 2 decades. It's simple, free, and accessible to anyone, regardless of age. If you wake up with pains, a sense of fatigue, or a foggy mind, start here. Before any supplement, before any diet, before even coffee, drink water. It may seem small, but sometimes it's these small, consistent gestures that sustain a long, lucid, and autonomous life. The second habit that transformed my life was starting to get sunlight in the early morning hours every day, even if just for a few minutes. This became part of my routine after I discovered that my energy, mood, and even immunity were directly linked to vitamin D, something I practically ignored until my early 70s. Today, this simple daily contact with natural light is as important as what I eat or drink. In the past, I spent most of my days indoors. When I went out, it was in the afternoon or evening. Like many of my generation, I grew up hearing that the sun was harmful and that the less exposure, the better. But over time, I started feeling deep fatigue, unexplained body aches, causeless sadness, and constant low energy. I went to several doctors. I did tests, and the answer was always vague. It's age. But again, something in me refused to accept that as normal. It was during one of those visits that, almost by chance, a doctor asked to check my vitamin D levels. The result came back, far below ideal. And that's when everything started to make sense. Vitamin D deficiency directly affects bone health, immune system function, muscle strength, and even emotional balance. When you have low levels of this vitamin, everything feels heavier. The body aches more, energy drains quickly, and the mind starts to darken inside. Instead of turning to supplements, I decided to try something natural first. I started getting sunlight every day in the morning between 7 and 9 a.m. when the rays are still gentle and safe, just 15 to 20 minutes with my arms or legs exposed. In a few weeks, I felt a striking difference. My energy improved, the pains lessened, and, what surprised me most, my mood became more stable. That constant feeling of low energy simply disappeared. It was as if my entire body was starting to function in harmony with nature again. Science confirms this impact. Vitamin D is naturally produced by the skin when exposed to sunlight, and older people have more difficulty synthesizing it. Moreover, studies show that low levels of this vitamin are linked to a range of problems: osteoporosis, depression, weakened immunity, chronic inflammation, and even cognitive decline. An article published in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism points out that vitamin D deficiency is common among elderly people who live reclusively and rarely get sun exposure, contributing to premature aging of the body and mind. Today, getting sunlight isn't just a physical routine for me, but almost a spiritual ritual. Going out in the morning, breathing fresh air, feeling the gentle warmth of the sun on my skin. All of this connects me to life. And if I could recommend just one lifestyle change for those who feel they're aging too fast, it would be this. Go outside. Get sunlight. Every day, even if just for a few minutes. This can restore an energy you didn't even remember existed. This habit is simple, free, and requires no equipment. And without exaggeration, it was a game changer for me. Doing slow, mindful stretches in the first few minutes of the morning. No abrupt movements, no heavy exercise, just waking up the body part by part with care, awareness, and consistency. This restored my mobility, reduced my joint pains, and made me feel more present in my own body. Before adopting this practice, getting out of bed was almost a battle. My back hurt, my knees felt locked, and my shoulders were always tense. I leaned on furniture to get to the kitchen, and I was afraid of tripping on rugs or losing my balance. It was a painful kind of slowness, as if my body was rusted. And no matter how much I moved during the day, I noticed that this morning stiffness only got worse over time. Until one day, I read something that changed my perspective. The human body isn't made to go from complete rest straight to activity. It needs to be awakened. So I started a very simple ritual. Still in my bedroom, I do 5 to 10 minutes of stretches. I stretch my arms overhead, roll my shoulders, gently move my neck, stretch my legs, hips, and lower back. Nothing forced. It's like I'm waking up each muscle, each joint with respect. At first, I felt discomfort, but after a few weeks, I noticed my body starting to respond. The pains reduced, my posture improved, and most importantly, my confidence to move increased drastically. This habit also has very solid scientific backing. Studies show that morning stretching helps activate the nervous system, improve circulation, and reduce inflammation in muscles and joints. According to Harvard Medical School, regular stretching in older adults contributes to better balance, greater flexibility, and a lower risk of falls. Plus, stretching releases endorphins, hormones that reduce pain and promote a sense of well-being. It's literally an antidote to the physical and emotional stiffness that many feel as they age. For me, the most impactful thing was realizing that, over time, my body regained lightness in movement. Today, I climb stairs safely, walk with firm steps, and can't remember the last time I had a fall or stumble at home. And for someone who's 94 and lives alone, that's freedom. It all started with a few minutes of attention to my body in the morning before the world started demanding anything from me. So, if you feel your body stiff upon waking, fear falling, or simply feel like you're aging inside, start with stretches. Slow, simple, mindful. You don't need a gym or professional guidance for this, just presence. Movement is life, and the body responds when we learn to listen. For much of my life, my breakfast was like most people's: bread with butter, strong black coffee, and sometimes a piece of cake. It was tasty, yes, but an hour later, I'd already feel tired, with a heavy head and a desire to lie down again. It was only after my 70s that I realized what was wrong. My body needed protein early in the morning, not sugar or white flour. The first time I changed my breakfast, I confess it was out of curiosity. An article talked about the role of protein in maintaining muscle mass and preventing cognitive decline in older adults. Since I was already feeling my strength decrease and noticed my muscles were disappearing, I decided to try it. I swapped bread and cake for scrambled eggs, a piece of chicken, or plain yogurt with seeds. At first, it felt strange, but in a few days, I noticed a clear difference. I felt satiated, stronger, and with much more mental energy. Over time, I understood what was happening. Protein is essential for cell regeneration, muscle maintenance, and proper brain function. And as we age, our body needs more protein to maintain what used to be easy to preserve. Plus, eating protein first thing in the morning helps stabilize blood sugar levels, preventing energy peaks and crashes, those moments when you feel weak or sleepy, even after sleeping well. Science reinforces this. Research published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition shows that older adults who consume adequate protein at breakfast show less lean mass loss and better physical performance over the years. Additionally, there are studies that link protein-rich diets to a reduced risk of falls, fractures, and even depression symptoms in people over 60. In other words, it's not just about strength, it's about autonomy, mental health, and quality of life. Today, my breakfast is non-negotiable. I always include a protein source: eggs, plain yogurt, tuna, shredded chicken, or even a small piece of meat. Sometimes I add some seeds, like chia or flaxseed, and low-glycemic fruits. I don't follow a strict or complicated diet, but I learned that starting the day with the right food changes everything. The body responds better, the mind stays stable, and I go through the day with energy and clarity. If you usually wake up tired, feel your strength diminishing, or have trouble maintaining focus and energy throughout the day, rethink your breakfast. Forget ultra-processed foods, avoid excess sugar early on, and put protein at the center of your first meal. It may seem like a simple change, but I'm living proof that it can restore vitality, strength, and more quality time to your life. The fifth habit I incorporated into my routine, and without exaggeration, the most transformative of all, came from a completely unexpected source. It wasn't a doctor's tip or something I saw on TV. It was an ancient ritual used for centuries by Buddhist monks, but only recently recognized by modern science. Today, they call it a brainwave frequency ritual. It may sound like something out of a movie, I know, but when I started practicing it, I understood why it has survived for so many centuries. The impact it had on my life was profound: physical, mental, emotional, and even financial. I discovered this ritual while reading about longevity and neuroscience. I found a study that talked about specific brainwave frequencies that, when activated first thing in the morning, reorganize the mind, relieve stress, balance emotions, and increase focus and mental clarity. It was what monks had been doing for generations, a combination of sound, breathing, and intention, practiced for a few minutes every day. I decided to try it out of curiosity. And since then, I've never stopped. Every day, before any distraction, I put on my headphones and listen to an audio with a frequency that activates the brain's theta state, a state associated with deep meditation, intuition, and mental reprogramming. While I listen, I stay silent and focus on three things: how I want to feel today, what I want to attract into my life, and what I need to let go of. It's simple, but the effect is profound. In a few days, my anxiety disappeared. In a few weeks, I started making quicker, more accurate decisions. And in a few months, things started changing around me, without me having changed anything externally. The most impressive part? My health also improved. My blood pressure stabilized, my sleep became deeper, and my emotions became more balanced. It was as if this ritual put my brain in a state of readiness and calm at the same time. And when I read that this same brain activity pattern is achieved by monks in deep meditation, I realized the power I was tapping into. It wasn't just relaxation, it was alignment, body and mind operating together. Many people doubt this because it seems too mystical, but science is starting to prove what ancient wisdom already knew. Research from universities like Harvard and Columbia has shown that certain sound frequencies can change how the brain perceives the world, reducing inflammation, improving memory, and activating areas related to creativity, focus, and emotional well-being. And I felt this in practice. I didn't change jobs, I didn't win the lottery, but ideas started to flow. Opportunities arose. My financial life, which was stable, became abundant. Today, if I have to choose between a cup of coffee and this ritual, I choose the ritual. It's just 7 minutes that prepare my mind for everything that comes in the day. It's become a sacred moment. And the most beautiful part, anyone can do it. It costs nothing, requires no experience or belief. just intention. If I'm here at 94, lucid, calm, with autonomy and prosperity, I can say with complete certainty, this habit played a central role in this journey. It didn't just change my thoughts, it changed my reality. If there's one habit I wish everyone would try at least once in their life, it's this one. The frequency audio ritual I mentioned earlier may seem simple, and it is. But the world we live in today has made this kind of practice more necessary than ever. Do you wake up already with your phone in hand? With your head full of worries, notifications, demands, noise? That's how most people live, in a constant state of alert, with a racing mind, an anxious heart, and a feeling that nothing is ever quite right, even when it is. And this, over time, destroys mental and physical health. We start living on autopilot, disconnect from ourselves, and get used to stress as if it were normal. But it's not. That's why this ritual touched me so deeply, because it does the opposite. It teaches me, every day, to start the day at the right pace. Before the world shouts, before problems appear, before the brain goes into race mode, I sit, put on my headphones, and align my mind with a calmer, more receptive, more organized state. And that changes everything, the way you think, feel, react. It's as if, for a few minutes, you step out of the world's chaos and return to yourself. And this isn't magic, it's physiological. Theta brain waves activate areas of the brain responsible for emotional balance, creativity, decision-making, and even physical healing. It's the same state monks achieve after years of meditative practice, but today, with the right technology, you can activate it in a few minutes. It's not an illusion, it's neuroscience. This type of practice is especially important if you've been struggling with anxiety, insomnia, irritability, low energy, or even financial difficulties. Because when the mind is out of balance, everything in life starts to misalign. Your energy drops, your productivity decreases, your emotions go out of control, and even your choices start to worsen. And it all becomes a cycle. But the opposite is also true. When you learn to tune your mind, first thing in the morning, the body follows. Your emotions stabilize, your clarity returns, and even your decisions improve. So don't ignore this habit just because it seems different. Sometimes it's exactly what we've never tried that makes the difference we've always wanted. If you feel like you're living on the edge, too tired, too stressed, emotionally scattered, start here. 7 minutes. A pair of headphones. A moment just for you. And maybe, as it happened with me, you'll discover that the peace, energy, and even the opportunities you seek were just a frequency away. Look, I know many people hear all this and think, but I could never do all this every day. And the truth? Maybe not. And that's okay. I didn't start doing everything at once either. It wasn't overnight that my health improved, my sleep stabilized, my mind cleared. All of this happened gradually, one step at a time. First came the water, then the morning sunlight, later the protein-rich breakfast, and much later, the audio ritual that truly sealed this transformation. The mistake many people make is thinking they need to become a different person overnight. That doesn't exist. What exists is daily commitment to small gestures and the willingness to care for yourself as if you were building a house, brick by brick, with patience, with firmness, respecting the rhythm of your own life. That's what I did, and that's what worked. The truth is that real health doesn't come from guilt or pressure. It comes from attention, presence, and a certain kind of care that we usually give to others, but almost never offer to ourselves. And when we start treating ourselves with this respect, the body responds, the mind responds, and life responds. It doesn't matter your age, your routine, or what's already behind you. What matters is that you're still here, still listening, and still able to start. Even if it's with the simplest habit, even if it's with 2 minutes of silence in the morning. The important thing is to start with true intention, because when the gesture is sincere, the result appears. You don't need to become another person. You don't need to transform into a master of discipline or spirituality. You just need to make one choice. Just one. The lightest. The most possible. And repeat. Until one day, without noticing, you look in the mirror and see that something has changed. That you're calmer, stronger, more stable. That life has more rhythm. That the energy has returned. And that the time you thought you had lost can still be yours. And I know this because it happened to me. At 94 years old, with everything I've lived through, I can tell you with conviction, you don't need to change everything. But you need to start with something. And sometimes, it's that first gesture that changes everything. If you made it this far, congratulations. That already shows you're seeking more from life, more health, more clarity, more control over your days. And the truth is that this doesn't depend on your age or your history. It depends only on one decision, to start treating yourself with respect. The 5 habits I shared here are not miracles. They're choices. Small, simple, and powerful. And when done with consistency, they have the power to transform not only your body, but the way you live. If you feel disconnected from yourself, tired before the day even starts, or stuck in a cycle that seems unchangeable, choose one habit and start with it. Just one. Today. And if this video brought you some clarity, some relief, or even a little hope, leave your like. That shows that this kind of content makes sense and helps it reach other people who might need exactly this. Subscribe to the channel because I still have a lot to share with you, always with truth, simplicity, and real experience. And before you go, tell me here in the comments, where are you watching from? And how old are you? I'll love to know who's with me on this journey. After all, taking care of yourself is not a luxury. It's a commitment to the life you can still live.